I think getting closer to harvesting wild game and fish, you start really noticing things and you really want to prepare what you've done with a great deal of respect. And that has been my motto throughout. And I just love the flavor of wild products. The more robust, the more flavor, the more unique the wild products, the better off. So it kind of translates into what we do as far as our pantry items. We like them to have very bold flavors that are assertive and that are different and that are out of the box and don't taste like anything else.
I also think something we do very different than you're going to see in other trout row particularly is we sell ours frozen ready to eat as opposed to refrigerated or with a longer shelf life. So it's frozen absolutely right when we're done processing it, and I believe that helps it maintain that beautiful flavor that you got to experience.
Gosh, it was so fresh. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. These days, the pantry has become as much of an expression of our personalities and tastes as our clothing. It shows what we believe in, the values we support, and the quality of ingredients we think we deserve in our home cooking. It definitely doesn't hurt if the packaging is cute, too. Today's guests have been building a CPG line out of Grand Rapids, Michigan for the last 23 years. And it deserves to be in every pantry, gift box, and on the counters across the country. On top of it, they're producing caviar from the Great Lakes like you've never seen or tasted before. Please welcome the co-owners of BLiS Gourmet, Chef Steve Stallard and Sarah Sherman.
Hey,
Sarah. Hi.
Buddy.
How are you, Sarah?
I'm so happy to see you both. Thank you for taking the time. More Michiganders. I love it. Midwest friends coming up in here. Oh, I mean, Michigan this time of year is so perfect too. You guys have the lake, which is basically the inland sea of Great Lake, Michigan, and blueberry season's coming up, which I can't love that.
Mushroom season's coming up.
Whoa.
We just ended our strawberries too, which were magical.
Yes, yes. I know that the harvest in Columbus this year just wasn't as great because of the frost, but I'm glad that you all had some good strawberries going on.
Yeah.
Oh, so exciting. Well, I do always like to take things all the way back to the beginning here. I'd love to hear when you each fell in love with food and what eating and cooking was like in your households growing up.
Well, I grew up on a small garden that my dad had. It was my family did. It was an organic garden. He was doing it way before it was cool.
Wow.
He kept expanding it and expanding it when he realized he had cheap child labor to weed it and hoe it.
Yes. Oh, this sounds like my mom's family.
It was the biggest place in the world, but it just kept getting bigger and bigger. But I understand and felt what it really tastes like to have a perfectly ripe tomato that's an heirloom, what corn tastes like that's not been fettered with, you know, what zucchini blossoms are, and really a lot of those flavors, they imprint in you early and they never leave. And so that's pretty much, as far as beginning, that would be the beginning stages on my end.
So beautiful.
For us, it was my mother's and father's love for PBS and Julia Child.
Oh, yes. The classics.
Yep, we grew up just south of Detroit, and I think we got 3 channels, BS being one of them. And so there was always some kind of new recipe that we were going to try. As a family, my dad would sneak in something spicy, no matter if it called for it or not. And we also had a great garden that, you know, we grew up working. Yeah. And then my family also was avid campers and fishing and that type of thing. So we were always cooking what we found or caught over an open fire.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where it all started. And then, you know, you never get out of it.
I love how you both have such fresh starts here. And I will say, the French may be like, there's not much in common with Midwesterners, but butter. And Julia brought that to all of us.
Yeah,
True.
It hit me with the butter and cream.
Absolutely. What do you think then drew each of you to the food industry for your careers? Was this something that as kids, either of you were thinking like that would be really fun just because it was such a special part of your family time?
Mine's different than yours. For me, I started working in food at 13. My first job was at Strode's Ice Cream Parlor in downtown Wyandotte.
Love that.
So Detroit made ice cream, but we also had a fabulous lunch deli program. I don't think the kitchen was approved. It was in a basement with a home stove, but we were making our own tuna salads, chicken salads, very basic. But that was my very first, paid job by the hour out of work. And then I worked in restaurants throughout high school and college. And I was going to school for things very different than food. I first went to school to be a pilot, then a teacher, then a nurse, and none of it was sticking. And I kept working in restaurants and bars throughout all that. And I finally said, why am I fighting this?
Yes, you're like, why go back?
And then eventually I left the restaurants to come and work with my friend Steve.
Oh my gosh.
Because of what he had going was so beautiful and unique and different than what I was doing at the time, that I think that provided me the staying power to stay with food for the rest of my career.
Yes, and it obviously worked out very well. Do you still have a pilot's license?
I had a recreational one.
Yeah.
And technically don't really lose those things, but I would never go up in the air again unless I repeated ground school. Which hopefully if I have a chance at retirement, I would look into doing as a hobby again.
Yeah, my dad loved getting his pilot's license and going up, and just for fun. And I've been in a friend's little biplane, actually in Michigan, and got to steer a little. And I was like, this is crazy. This is nuts.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I probably, of course, my dream was never to be a commercial pilot. So the expense of the schooling caught up pretty quickly when you want to fly for the Red Cross or Air Serv. So that's when I changed gears, saying, I have X amount in student loans in 1 year. And the goal was not to be the high paid commercial pilot. So
Understood. It definitely worked out. Steve, were your ideals a little less in the air?
Well, I started washing dishes at 14, but I was fishing and hunting up to that point. So when I got product, being fish or game, I taught myself how to clean it, process it, and fabricate it. And I really wanted to do everything myself. But then I started washing dishes, and the whole thing just kind of came together. And I started washing dishes for actually, it was a convention center off in Milford, somewhere in the woods. And they had various societies and groups that would come there. One of them was a Lithuanian group. They came in. So there were all states all over. There were maybe 150 people or more. And I remember the cooks in the back, they were all ladies, and they were doing different food. Lots of salmon, lots of lox, lots of smoked eel, different foods I've never had before. And they were all cleaning the eels, and they prompted me to come up because they thought there's no way I would like it. And I literally gobbled it down like there was no tomorrow. With the blood sausage and the eel, I was in heaven, and they couldn't believe it. And so it just, things like that. My palate was open early, and I was really interested in tasting a lot of different things. And I think getting closer to harvesting wild game and fish, you start really noticing things, and you really want to prepare what you've done with a great deal of respect. And that has been my motto throughout. And I just love the flavor of wild products. I just do. The more robust, the more flavor, the more unique wild products, the better off. So it kind of translates into what we do as far as our pantry items. We like them to have very bold flavors that are assertive and that are different and that are out of the box and don't taste like anything else. And one of the reasons why we've kind of morphed into this section of life we're at right now.
It sounds so full circle too as we get more into it, but I love that you're putting so much respect on Mother Nature's name, of course. I mean, you were doing some chefing and some traveling before BLiS happened too. Are you a forager as well? I have to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, but
Oh, that's so amazing. Tell us about the aha moment for BLiS. How did you come up with this great name? It's a nice little acronym. And when were you deciding that you wanted to bring the strongest flavors that you find out in nature that aren't just from the processed foods? Especially, you were in 2003. We're coming out of that era where there was like green ketchup, essentially. Like Heinz was like, would you like purple ketchup on your plate? Very much the era I grew up in of convenience and just like overprocessed bullshit.
Yeah.
well said.
Yes. Exciting for a kid, but when you think back on it, you're like, what was that?
Yeah.
There was a couple aha moments. One was when I was executive chef at a club at Dow Chemical in Dow Corning.
Michigan.
There was a guy who brought in these brook trout that were alive in a bucket. And he just said, yeah, you want any of these? I said, yeah, can you give me some more? And he did, and we started doing Tlita Blue and harvesting them. And then I noticed that, well, we got a lot of roe in here. So I said, let's do this. So I taught myself how to do cure roe. And that's where the whole caviar thing started, and our Great Lakes system. And what we did is we stocked ponds that were spring fed, and they were kind of manually netted out. We did partially feed, but they foraged on their own. So they got a lot of freshwater shrimp, and there was a lot of watercress around the edges. So there was cress bugs too. So they had a different flavor profile. And we never had a lot of it because they grow slow and they take 3 years to mature. And it's hard to get them. We have to net them out and then hand select them. And that really ran and started our whole caviar scene. So that person has moved on, and we're now alternating different species, some from Canada, some from the West Coast, but it's all been wild. We haven't been using any farm-raised product at all.
Wonderful.
And that's the beginning stages, I would say. And then also, when I was curing fish, so I did a lot of smoking and charcuterie work as a gourmet chef in a hotel in Grand Rapids. We cured a lot of salmon. We smoked our own salmon. We had a smoker. And so I used maple syrup and bourbon as my cure. So I thought, why don't I put this together? And I went down to Kentucky and knocked on a bunch of doors. And then I found a few barrels that I did not like, that just didn't do much. And then I found barrels that did really good things, and I was able to procure those. And then I go, well, let's just try it. So I put like $3,000 worth of syrup in a barrel and crossed my fingers. And I learned a lot along the way. And that's where it started from as far as that syrup line. But then that turned into many different products spinning off of that, because the barrels, after they're done with the syrup, there's about a gallon, maybe a half a gallon to a gallon stuck in the wood. So it's got a really luscious, sweet, bourbony flavor that's stuck there. It's not overly sweet, but it imparts flavor into whatever you put it in.
Yes.
So then we started with vinegars and with fish sauce, and the beer companies were buying them and aging their beer in them. Spirits companies were aging, and we couldn't get them fast enough.
Goodness.
And that's kind of the base. So we reuse those over and over again until by the time we're finished, they're cut in half and put in your yard for petunias.
I mean, all the way down. And it sounds like this is your philosophy behind the fish as well, which I like hearing. How long does it typically take for the syrup or any of these other products to sit in the barrels before you're packaging it and selling it?
It depends. Some barrels will throw more flavor than others, and we kind of test them out, but usually 6 months.
Yeah.
Usually 6 months to 9 months. And we're in no rush to get them out. So we can pull them out, and if they're over, then we blend them out. But there's a lot of shortcuts that I've seen, because it's a very popular line item right now. The SKU has been developed, and we actually were the first ones to do it. But there's ways that you can impart some flavor to it that I've never done before. So
Future line.
We still go old school. Things age a little quicker in the summer too, just because the warehouse is ambient.
Yeah.
So, when it's a 95-degree Michigan humid day, it's getting those flavors infused a little bit quicker. And winter months, they stay in the barrels a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I know of people that put hot syrup in there that's right out the cooker, and what that does is, it throws flavor, but it's the wrong type of flavor. It's really
does it like
woody.
burn or like
It's not burned. It's woody and has a gritty. It's just not. It's not a natural way to age.
it's not like when you're having a nice sipping bourbon and you're embracing all of the different flavors you feel. My sweetheart is a big bourbon guy, and I like to sip a little, but it really hits me fast. So I can only have some sips here. Now I have
And tell her what your flavor profile was when you had the heavy corn mash.
Oh yeah. Well, we ate some syrups in a real high corn mash that was really short. I'm not going to say the distillery, but it's very well known. It's gonna and it's in Tennessee.
Okay.
So what that produced was a very sweet flavor, which compounded with maple syrup. The end result tasted like sugar pops. That's all I got to say. It was like corn and sweet together, and it
Corn syrup.
yeah.
Yeah, needless to say, we haven't used that type of barrel since, but
No.
It's amazing the learnings that you get, and you're just thinking, wow, these are just the trees we're passing all the time. And suddenly they make such a huge difference and importance. I mean, I have to ask you too, right now, when it comes to barrels, we've learned that, at least in the Columbus area, there was someone who's kind of trying to sell us on barrel investments for a local distillery. Sadly, we are not that liquid to be able to be just buying barrels. And given that there's such a shift right now, too, in the alcohol industry and consumption, are you finding that there are barrels that are more available to you than before? What does that affect then like for your business and how you're sourcing these different types of materials?
We don't have an issue with sourcing
Okay.
barrels.
no, but you're right. They're a lot more available.
Yes, they are.
The secondary and tertiary market of sales, say after the syrup or specialty barrels or anything else that might go in after the bourbon. The craft beverage industry is down so dramatically that it kind of forced us to extend our lines, which is good. You know, we used to sell quite a few of our spent maple barrels because we sold more maple syrup than anything else. Well, now some of our other items are starting to catch up to that, or at least we now have enough other items to use the majority of those barrels.
Maple barrels.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, we used to really sell a ton to breweries and distilleries. Now it's the small batches.
Yeah.
I usually have a buyer lined up for whatever we're going to have. In fact, I got the next round ready to go.
And we just use them all. I mean, they're fish sauce and vinegars and soy sauce and now tamari.
Cool.
So, and yeah, they just keep getting they keep getting used. So we will keep them because we know what they're going to do. And our other SKUs are expanding. Before we had no SKUs that were consuming those barrels. Now we have 5. So we just keep putting those barrels back into use again.
This is incredible. So it's worked out very well for your particular type of products, which I'm really happy to hear. And again, you all sound very comprehensive. It sounds like very little to no waste when it comes to how you're producing things, what you're really focusing on. I also have to hear too, like, what was your friend meet cute? And Sarah, how you first got involved all these years ago. And also I would love to hear a little bit more of how you two like to work together, what your strengths are, and how you've been able to keep such a great co-founder relationship for over 2 decades.
So it's kind of funny because Steve and I met before I was working here, of course, in a restaurant. Steve is a very accomplished chef and talented beyond that I'll ever say. But he used to come in and guest chef. And when he started BLiS at a restaurant that I worked at, I did everything from dishwasher to cook to bartend at this place. And we used to have really pretty incredible wine dinners for the time. And we were one of the first members of Slow Food here in Grand Rapids back in the late 80s, kind of doing things right and on a small scale. While the owner had worked with Steve in a different life, and so would invite him in for wine dinners, and his skill set was heads and tails above everybody else's. So we'd all cluck in the corner and say, who's going to plate next to Steve? Who's going to plate next to Steve? And Steve would show up at the back door with wild mushrooms and these brook trout and things that you could order at the time. And so he would bring these beautiful foraged goods and everybody would ooh and ah. And we bonded because we were both nerding out over mushroom hunting. So it wasn't very popular then.
It was the
I
foraging.
grew up in a family, like we were members of the Michigan Mushroom Hunters Club since I can remember. So Steve would come in to talk shop or have dinner and everyone would talk about something else and what'd you find in the woods today? And that started our friendship.
Wonderful.
Her father was an avid hunter. And so it just kind of trickled down through their family. And my family was morel hunting. That was all they did. But I expanded on to everything I could eat out in the woods.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he had started the business. And so we were using the products at restaurants that I worked at. I loved the products myself, so I had them at home. And then he was starting to grow. So I kind of shoved my foot in the door.
You're like, I'm coming on in.
We need someone to answer the phones or something, buddy. And, let me come help. And I think within about a week, you said, can you come full time?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And that was that.
That was that. That was 15 years ago.
My goodness. So you're focused very much on development and sales, correct, Sarah?
I would say I'm like the general manager more than
She runs everything.
like the
The many hats.
director of operations.
I just get in her way.
No, that's not true at all. But, sales is a part of that. Development is a part of that. But, and then day-to-day
Full spectrum.
operations.
Wonderful. What has it been like working together? What do you find that keeps your working relationship in a good place, especially when you have to have, say, tough conversations?
We have those.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to.
I go and tell her mom.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's being bad.
Yes. So we are like siblings. Also, my husband
Mom.
and my elderly mother now lives with my husband and I. So there's times Steve gets to go manage mom.
Yep.
So that's a true story.
It's true. And the friendship has been a long time now.
Yeah.
His wife's one of my best friends. My husband's one of his best friends. He comes to my sister's house for dinner with us. Sometimes he's babysat mom when we've been out of town.
Right.
And so I think when you're working in a small business, you're right up there with each other. We don't have a large team. And so when we have tough conversations, maybe we can be emotional because we both really care. We care about the business. We care about each other. We care about the whole picture. But I also think that keeps us in the ring all the time.
Yes.
Trying to do the right thing for our team and our business.
I think we had this kind of an unusual understanding of knowing when we need to step away for a little bit.
Yes.
And then we either get our thoughts straight before anything unwanted to get said or done. So it works out, and both of us have that feel.
Yeah.
So
I think we're pretty quick to apologize too.
we are.
If we're having those challenging talks and we get a little heated, everything is fleeting in those moments. And we've been through enough due to the time together that we know, okay, something just got triggered. Let's take a break and let's go ahead and get this back on track pretty quick. Because it sucks to be in such a small space when you're feeling frustrated or not heard or whatever the situation may be.
So I don't think either one of us are afraid of making mistakes.
That's true.
That's a big deal. We just want to avoid repeating them. There's an open field as far as mistake making. It's just if it repeats itself.
Yes. Well, or I remember when Steve first empowered me to start really making decisions here. And our offices are right over there and they face kind of each other, but he has to slide his chair back a little bit for me to see him. And so I joke about when he kicks his chair back, he's got something to say, right? So I kicked his chair back and said, "You've got command of the ship now. You're going to make mistakes. Just don't sink the ship." I'm like, oh, and I think about that. Like,
Advice.
there's going to be risk
Yeah.
when things that you're doing for your business are the first time.
Yes.
Maybe a friend in a similar business has walked through those steps, but it's not a roadmap 100% for what we're doing. Well, I believe we do trust each other enough. There's going to be mistakes. Own them. Let's learn from them. Let's figure out how to get things back on track and not walk head on into the buzzsaw again or sense the buzzsaw is coming.
Yes.
Warn each other if we really feel strongly that something may not be a great idea.
This is great. I mean, it sounds like you not only have both the entrepreneurial spirit where you understand, like, we are going to have to try things if you're going to continue to not only be a long-standing business, but one that continues to innovate as well, so that you have a sense of we're known for this, but we're trying new things as well to see if you can keep expanding, but also just when you get to know someone, like understanding their motivations and what works well for them when it comes to having deep conversations. So I'm glad you all have been able to figure that out over time. And I'm sure then it feels good for your team, you know?
We get better.
We get better at it day
Yes.
by day. It's because we make mistakes at it still all the time.
Yeah.
But we care enough to say, oh, I see that one didn't work. Let's move on.
And you move on.
We heed the lessons as they come, I think.
Yeah. And it gives your team a safe space too, to have ideas and to try them and see what happens. So that makes me curious. What are some long-standing products before we get into more on the caviar? Because I'm so excited about this. I want to hear what has been everlasting that you're like, this is our go-to. This doesn't change. This is what we're known for. And what are a few things that you like to play with? Maybe some that haven't worked out and some that you're still testing out here.
Well, the maple syrup, because without that bourbon barrel aged maple syrup, we don't have the barrels.
Yes.
To make the other products with.
So I would say that's like the flagship.
Yeah. And roe, I mean, we started out with the brook trout roe, right? That was 2-3 hours north of here. And we started
And
with
people still ask for it, even though we haven't been able to do it for like 6-7
about
years.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's wild steelhead roe, which is a rainbow trout that acts like a salmon. Goes out to sea, comes back in. Sustainable, one of the only sustainable rivers and river systems that's been operating. They're commended on keeping their native stocks strong, healthy, and they're very well managed. And it's not by the feds either. It's by the indigenous people that work with the rivers. So they've been doing this since the 50s.
Yeah.
No one really knows about it. And they still have some of the purest strains around. And they're still producing and also harvesting, and then their release program is incredible. Their stocking program's incredible. And their wild program's incredible.
Hi. So, Sarah, is this the trout roe that I tried at Utility Show?
No, you tried the wild char roe.
Oh my gosh,
That's
gorgeous.
Yeah, that started out in the Northwest Territories, actually. And then those fish, it was very difficult to get out of there. So then we found different sources and brought it down. And now we've kind of ended up where we're at right now with it. And that's what you tried. But we do have both, and we're expanding. Actually, there's a potential for another SKU coming up in October, November. So we'll
Exclusive.
let you know.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, when I saw this caviar and Sarah was like, this is from the Great Lakes, I said, you're kidding. This is Midwestern caviar here. And it's the most, of course, perfect jewel toned color. Describe the difference, say, between the char and the steelhead trout in terms of the flavors and what you're able to offer.
There are different species. So one is a Savlinus and the other is Truta. So there's a trout and a char. So the steelhead is in a char. So the color of the egg is a little bit different. It's a little larger. It's smaller than a salmon egg, the steelhead. And the char is more golden color, and the steelhead is more salmon roe looking like color.
Yeah.
So
Bright orange.
Yes.
You didn't have a big following in the Akura market where the Japanese like to use the salmon roe that you see on sushi, for example. And so it was kind of a byproduct, and that's why I started using it. And we started working with it, and it had great flavor and great color and texture, and the same with the char. So,
And I also think something we do very different than you're going to see in other trout roe, particularly, is we sell ours frozen ready to eat as opposed to refrigerated or with a longer shelf life. So it's frozen absolutely right when we're done processing it. And I believe that helps it maintain that beautiful flavor that you got to experience.
Gosh, it was so
If you go
fresh.
you tried with some of the other ones, they don't quite have that beautiful fresh fish taste. Like it just came out of the water. And I feel like ours really does. And whether it's, the day after we put it in the tin and froze it or several months later, it really holds that beautiful freshness nice.
and a lot of the product that you see is done that way, even though it may be put into a jar later, because it's, the batches are when they come, usually.
No
It's not-
control.
Yeah. You get a tracking number or delivery notice and it's, 15 pounds to 300 pounds, get the cooler ready to work. So everyone's just ready during these seasons, which really between the species runs about 6 months.
Yeah, it does. And logistically, you have to do it that way.
Yep. So that's the beauty of having our small, really awesome team.
Yes.
We don't have a high turnover rate. Not, processing fish eggs is not for everyone. First thing in the morning, getting gritty, getting suited up.
Getting right in there.
The textures, things like that. But like for a lot of people, it's awesome. And so for our team, the dedication of like, hey, the roe came, you got to go in on a Saturday. It's okay. Get her done. Yeah. We're very lucky. We're fortunate that we have the folks that we do involved on our production team, because it does take that level of dedication to do it the way we do it.
Yes, that all comes from the top down. You guys are happy.
Yeah.
So you're implementing a can-do attitude for everyone too.
Yeah, and I can't imagine trying to walk if we had a high turnover rate. There's also a lot of trust when someone's empowered to do the whole process by themselves. I mean, our food safety plan has we follow all of these things. There can't be any tweak from process and steps.
And that's constantly evolving too.
It is.
We have to keep up with all that. And there's not very many, I don't know exactly, but there's very few people processing in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Very few.
There's some
Most
for
of it goes
bait
overseas.
or for bait, but that's not
And most
regulated.
goes overseas. overseas. Yeah. We have to really be tight with our purveyors.
Yeah,
And they're like, it's years of training on their end
absolutely.
to get what we want.
Definitely. I have to ask, last few years, especially for food, bev, hospitality, there are certainly a lot of changes that have been happening, especially in terms of policy, in terms of pricing, and the effects that you all have. What have you then noticed that you have to implement in place to make sure not only can you deliver the product at the same standards that you want to hold to, but that you're still finding customers who are accepting, like, hey, caviar is very trendy again right now. Like finding those right people who understand what it takes to put out a quality product like this.
I'd say our price point may be higher, but the amount of volume of what you use is much less because of the flavor, the intensity. Just for example, our soy sauce goes through a couple barrels and it's really rich and really viscous. So it has a lot of carryover. And so the amount that you use really it's quite a bit less. You're getting more flavor profile coming out of it. Same with the tamari, same thing. You get much more bang for your buck as far as flavor profile. And so the sticker shock at first, it might be, but once you get into it, you go through the bottles slowly.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's one of those, everyone's getting costed out of any level of our luxuries or our treats or that type of thing. But I feel like we've been fortunate enough to be established for a while that truly some of our items become the staple in a kitchen. And while they might have 4 different brands of the fish sauce or soy sauce that everything has a place depending on the recipe or process, ours holds a place in that kitchen and it still remains maybe that small treat or affordable luxury because now our stuff is not drastically over the price of a lot of things because all the other things have come up. Their quality hasn't. Right. Our quality hasn't gone down. We just recently redid a complete brand refresh and we were due, but also that was out of availability of glass bottles and enabling us to buy at a better price to not have to jack up $2 a bottle because that's what the glass costs. Yeah. So when we've been able never to tweak the recipe, the process, if we can switch on a package a little bit, so now it's not a $30 bottle of soy sauce, we will happily do that to make sure that Joe America can still put the soy sauce in their cabinet and it still can be the little special thing that someone might buy for themselves. Yeah. And with the chefs, we're so lucky because it really is such a secret ingredient or hidden weapon for so many people that it matters.
I mean, once you taste something incredible, once you taste something of higher quality, it is so hard to go back. It is so hard to be like, no, I can't do this again. Especially like you'll notice like some of my buddies I like to keep behind me in some of these filmings, like certain chili oils, like certain vinegars, marinara sauce, even like I'm so your target customer where I'm like, once I find like my pantry staple or something that's the next level, unless it is truly something where I'm like, okay, here is the oil I spray on my pan for everyday cooking versus here's my drizzle olive oil. That's so different. Like they are very different qualities because you're like, this one doesn't matter as much as the other.
Yeah.
I do have to ask, so you mentioned chefs, of course. So these are some of your biggest customers. Tell us about your special relationship with Grant Achatz of Alinea Group and how that got started to have your caviar in with him.
Well, when I was at the Grand Plaza Hotel in Grand Rapids, we had an apprenticeship program, and it was a year-long. We went through a sit-down curriculum, and we did demos and things like that. So he came in and worked under that program. He was so accelerated at such a young age. This was fitted for people coming from the CIA that had their externship. It was a 6-month externship that was a work experience, and then they come back and do more curriculum. So we had him for that point, and he excelled so much he went right to the fine dining restaurant, and nobody wanted to let him go. He was that good.
I know he was, Trotters, of course.
Yeah.
He was with Charlie.
And he just was exceptional. And so we've kept in contact with each other. When he came out of CIA, we hired him back, and he moved around a little bit, but he ended up in fine dining, and that's where he wanted to be, and that's where we worked with him, and it's where I worked with him. And he's a remarkable human being, inside and out. His skill level is unparalleled. And he was one of those people that you know was going to be a superstar. And he didn't even know it. He was only 17 or 18 years old. He's 18 years old. He went right into the CIA. And I just said, this guy, I talked to other chef friends of mine, and I said, man, I got a kid here that is just unreal. I said, he is a superstar, and he doesn't know as much as you would think, but his skill level and his ability to learn and track was incredible. And it hasn't stopped, obviously.
Yeah.
So I've got great respect for him, and we still talk frequently and consider him a good friend.
Yes, and it must feel so special to see your products on his plates and say,
Yeah,
like, wow,
really cool.
look again at this
Yeah.
beautiful, long-standing relationship.
And the way they
Art.
have really shown some beautiful things with our product. Absolutely. We feel very lucky.
Now, I have to ask, when I've gone on your website, Caviar is kind of usually sold out. Does this come in drops, essentially? Like, what do we have to do to line up to get some caviar here?
Well, also on the webpage, and if it doesn't say this, I better check. It should say, please
think you
call
can
for
call.
availability.
Yes, I did see that. Yes.
Yes, because the shipping of the caviar, it has to be shipped within 24 hours. So depending on where someone lives, we may have to do FedEx priority overnight, or like
Gotcha.
in Ohio, we should be able to get it to you one day UPS.
Yes.
Without having to pay that. But the automated platform does not support all of those variables.
Understood.
And so to get the proper information and make sure we're getting things freshly to our clients. So you could order some of that gorgeous charbroil.
Yes, you can.
Just have to give us a jingle.
Yes, Gen Z, pick up the phone. It's okay.
That's it.
Bleer won't bite. They're just excited to give
Yeah.
you the best bite.
That's it. We just want to make sure it gets there fresh and that everyone knows, like, when you punch it in, that, okay, it might come up with some astronomical shipping cost that isn't accurate.
Exactly. That you're like, we're going to figure this out for you and let you know. Well,
Yeah.
I got to get some on my next spread. You know, Christmas, I think, is when we might host the family again in our place on this side of things. So maybe I'll surprise everyone. A little
It's
Midwestern
great for the
caviar,
holidays.
you know?
Yeah.
They'll be like, you've gone overboard again. Last time I had cheese in the shape of Ohio. It's worth it, though. It really is. Now, I want to hear from you all. Like, again, last year or two, especially for folks, has been really tough within this industry. How are you all continuing to push forward? How do you all want to continue to grow? What do you think is really coming next for you all?
Well, we're thinking outside of the box again. We are. And so, of course, we're always playing with some new recipe development. But in addition to that, we made a purchase of some new automated equipment, bottling, labeling,
Excellent.
filling. And that's going to enable us to bottle products for other small manufacturers. And we're not quite there 100%. We're still connecting everything and finishing some final utility upgrades, but we will be offering that service very soon. And you're absolutely right. We have to think of things differently than we have over the course of the last 20 years. And that's something we've not offered in the past, but we've had to take up others on during phases of growth. And so it showed us that there is a need for those smaller bottle runs than a traditional co-packer, where, you know, maybe the minimums at a regular co-packer is 10 or 20,000 units. We're hoping we can do more like a handful of thousands and help another small company get through the phase of growth.
It was a major roadblock when we first started out. It was a major roadblock. So nobody wanted to start things up. And we thought this is probably one of the best ways to do it because we understand artisanal boutique small product and we understand the complexities behind it. We also understand that somebody who is starting out and they want a line and nobody will pack it for them because they don't have the facility, they don't have the machine.
Or they don't have the time because they're hand packing their own things.
They're early
things-
stage.
And this is something that's like, if there was something like this when I started out, it would have made my life a lot easier. But now we want to kind of give back in that direction and we want to offer that. And I think that is really valid because there's an explosion of food and beverage products that are coming out that are very, chef driven, artisanal, and we want to help them out. And if you don't have an outlet that's going to take 10, 15,000 units that a traditional co-packer would have to have, money up front, inventory already sitting there. You basically, you can't
That's a
do
lot
that.
of inventory.
So we want to be able to scale that down, tailor make to individual small packers that are coming to us with great ideas and need help getting over the hump and not having to use every bit of their capital to put into inventory and hope it sells. The expiration date.
That too.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble. I think we'll also be offering private label service as well.
Amazing.
And so if someone that's used our product for 20 years says, now I want to sell the smoked soy sauce as this brand, we can help in that direction now moving forward. And the cost of shipping things, logistics have just been turned on their head. So we used to, during phase of growth, have to ship some things to someone to have packaged. That's a recipe right now for failure. And I guarantee there's other people that are scratching their head right now going, what do we do? Because this is how we've always done it.
Right.
And that's a hard spot for folks. So fingers crossed, tell your friends if they have low acid canned food they'd like bottled, we can help them out in that realm.
I'm really appreciative that you guys are doing that. And I think folks listening to are as well, because they might have products themselves they've been working on, or maybe they're at that early stage of, do I finally take the jump and start to work with someone on this instead of doing it out of a co-kitchen or something along those lines? So thank you. Thank you for giving back that way too.
Thank you.
Of course. I have to ask, again, a gal raised in the Midwest, have lived here most of my life outside of my stint in California for school. And I think something so important for me is that folks continue to recognize, like, we're not flyover states. We are a destination, especially when it comes to food and bev. What are some of those misconceptions that you're still pushing through as a business, a food business specifically, coming out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, how you're reaching folks across the country, and what you really want them to know?
Well, like you say, we're not a flyover state. Michigan's bounty is insane. The amount of agriculture variety we can grow here in such a small growing season is crazy.
Yes.
It's beautiful. You know, asparagus, rhubarb, just these gorgeous things that people think only come from California or Mexico, right? But for 3 months out of the year, Michigan is a wealth of just incredible bounty. Detroit's having a gorgeous resurgence in the food and beverage industry right now. And Detroit is our biggest city, so that helps put Michigan somewhat on the map, where we're at Grand Rapids is, number 2. And our food scene is growing quite a bit. And also there's been other things added to our community. So say like a new amphitheater, we have a gorgeous botanical garden, things that draw people in that by kind of default, they then go out to eat while they're here and say, holy, I had no idea I was going to have that awesome of a meal in this little Midwestern town. It's organic growth in Grand Rapids right now, I feel
It
like.
is, and it's growing. It's pushing further north too as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So every city is starting to explode. But if you've ever been to northern Michigan in spring, summer, and fall, there's probably no other place that I'd rather be, especially around the lakes. Whether it's Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, it's stunning. It's just stunning. And it is, and a lot of people feel like that. It's not as well known. But
It's getting there. Like
getting-
Travers now has become such a huge second-home destination. They're having their food and wine sanctioned festival this year. Here in Grand Rapids next week, it's the first time that Grand Rapids will be hosting the American Culinary Federation Conference, which has traditionally been in Tier 1 cities. We'll be right here in Little Grand Rapids, so that will help with the professional community to see what all Grand Rapids.
we will be there.
Yeah, we will have booth 229. We will be exhibiting for the trade show, and there's going to be a live fire event where there's, I think, ACF chapters that will have a team that'll be cooking different cuisines over the fire, and a lot of them will be using our products in some way, shape, or form. So we're excited for other professional chefs to see that on the national platform, but here at home.
Yes, I think people don't really get, one, how big the Great Lakes are. So you're not around a small lake when you're going to Lake Michigan in any way whatsoever. I mean, the water can be so clear that there are pictures that almost look like the Caribbean sometimes. I'd be across the lake most of the time in summers growing up in Door County, and you just get that same feel of you're in like one of the most magical places in the world. So
We truly are.
yes,
It is special.
it is. It is.
Especially in the fall. The fall is just incredible.
I got to come up and see you guys then.
Fishing, mushrooms, root vegetables.
All the things you two love.
Yeah.
I have to ask, over so many years of working together and continuing to grow this business, what are each of you most proud of? And how do you think that you want to continue to grow and see what's happening next in your journeys? I know, I'm here with the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, that is a hard one.
Last one. I don't know.
What am I most proud of?
You have a lot to be proud of, buddy.
So do you, both of you.
You know what I really am happy about? I'm really happy about creating an environment that other people can work and prosper and have a career and have a comfortable lifestyle and living. And that's what I entered this for. Is I didn't want it for myself. I wanted to give it away.
He's been an incredible mentor to many people, truthfully, myself included. And therefore, like, I'm most proud that he chose me to be his partner moving forward when he split from his founding partner.
Earned, not a choice.
They made me really proud. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Should be.
He created the path for that. And now we get to do it together. And that's a cool thing.
Yes. And giving back to others is awesome that this is part of the business plan.
I'll also say we're pretty proud of, we've been fortunate enough over the last 9 years to work with a culinary arts program at a correctional facility, at the Lakeland Correctional Facility, that actually a documentary was done a few years ago and it won a James Beard Award, Cold Water Kitchen. And watching the development of gentlemen that come out of that program, their chef instructor, Jimmy Hill, is just, he's one of a kind. And we've been able to have our products in that classroom for several years, and the relationships have gone much deeper than the products ever could. And that's been a really amazing thing to be able to watch develop up close and maintain friendships with some of the graduates that get out and go on to have wonderful careers. We
also won 3 Fancy Food Show specialty goals.
Yeah, we won 3 trophy awards. Yeah, through the Specialty Food Association. Blind tastings was pretty good.
That's peer chosen, so.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
No silvers, no bronzes, just gold.
Just gold. Gold only. Just like the Charo.
That's it. That's it.
I have to say, hearing about your work with Cold Water Kitchen too that's really incredible. It's, again, not to be too cheesy, but your ingredients are healing as well.
I think the food industry as a whole, think about any of our career paths, like the food industry is one of the most unique businesses in my mind, because anybody's welcome. Whether you're the dishwasher, the caterer, the exec chef, the wine rep, there's so many different levels, but everybody's part of that same hospitality team. Even now that we're out of restaurants per se, and we're in the packaged goods, we still consider ourselves as part of that greater hospitality industry. And there's always room for change, growth, and second chances in that industry. And that's probably why we've wanted to stay. God knows we've had to reinvent ourselves a few times. Yeah, for sure. And there's always a home in the food industry if someone's willing to work and take a structure.
That's why we have chefs that are here. Everybody's worked in that business that's working in here. They're like Marines, they're used to 100-hour weeks, no sleep, working when it needs to be done, get it done. It's pretty much a grind. And when you have that capacity, you have a real good, comfortable feeling about, okay, we're going to amp production up. We're going to do this. It's going to be Sunday, and no problem. Things just get done. Yes. But then we also chart them up with...
Yeah, we don't work 100-hour weeks. No. Because we're at least now established enough, and we come up for air when we need to. Yep. We try to give each other and the team space. Hey, you got something personal going on? Cool, man. Take a break. Yes. I got you. I'll work your shift. Yeah. Because we all need everyone to be okay to get the job done. Yeah. And if you don't have time to come up and take care of yourself, that's when the fallout happens.
Yeah, then our positions they're multi-positioned. The people that are here are trained and very valuable.
Yeah, it's not my job, thing around here.
That's a lot of, especially if you wanted to work, that's the mentality you've got to have. And this is why I'm so blessed to be able to do this work that I do, is to talk with folks like you, because food and bev, it's the hardest working people, but I found the kindest people too.
the kindness and like most fun.
Yes. Yes.
Also, like the camaraderie, even when like us chatting at the show, it's like I instantly felt a connection.
me
because
too.
of What you do, we've never met before, and that's kind of common in our crews. That
You always
we
feel
assume-
comfortable walking in those rooms. Even if I
Yeah.
don't know that many people, you can strike up conversation with most people.
Someone's going to say, "What are you working on?" Because people in our industry have a natural curiosity often that it's not unidimensional. Usually, they want to know what somebody's up to and how they're working something, even if it looks the same on paper. What makes your work angle a little bit unique? I think a lot of us are pre-programmed like that.
Totally. Sarah, Steve, this has been wonderful. And it is always bittersweet when we get to this point of the conversation
Yeah.
too, because it's always so fun. And then I'm like, wait, we're ending.
Yeah, you've been awesome, Sarah. No surprise there. I mean, we knew.
That's so
We knew.
sweet.
We want to thank you so much for inviting us.
Of course. Well, you've got one last question here. And then we got to
Okay.
let folks know where to find you. It is the world's best and hardest question, as we like to say. So, a little reminder for folks, this is called the perfect bite, not just because it's a perfect bite of our friends across the food and bev value chain here, but because we each have our own perfect bites. So, something that you've eaten in your life that, whether it's a family dish, a recipe, something you've had on vacation, just every time you think about it, it makes you smile. So, Sarah and Steve, what are your perfect bites?
I'll let you do that one.
Okay, this
Think
is
about it.
something that has evolved. If you asked
Understood.
my perfect bite at 6 would have been or 20, but I'm going to say this: was it I think 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, we were at the Fancy Food Show in New York. We had our booth, and through the beauty of these wonderful connections we make in the hospitality industry, our friends at Vermont Wagyu had graciously offered to send us some beef to showcase with some of our pantry items. So we had our little flat top out, and oh my goodness, I think it was the Denver cut.
It was a strip.
It was a strip. Okay. Literally a flat top piece of this perfect Vermont Wagyu beef with our smoked soy sauce, a drop of it.
Man,
Over.
that's
Game
it.
over.
Perfect bite.
That's it. And we were just serving tastes like that all day, and people were just coming back. Are you put the beef back on? Because it melted in your mouth. And the way we smoke our soy sauce, it's naturally smoked, so it doesn't overpower anything. It doesn't stick with you for too long. So the whole thing just was perfect and would melt away with a wonderful, smooth. I don't know. That's it for me right now. That's my current perfect bite.
Mine goes back to a little bit further back, but that's a tough one. I've had some good bites.
World's best and hardest, because people will be like, what's yours? And I'm like, okay, I have one standard answer I give now, but I agree. It's a little
Yeah, this is-
demonic of me.
Yeah, this is, I guess, and I'm going to incorporate products in that because this one was one of my perfect. It's mascarpone cheese that's been infused, pinch of sugar, fresh Tahitian vanilla, scraped into the mascarpone, whipped up to kind of a spoonable mixture. Sourdough pancakes that have rested for 2 to 3 days as far as the sour mix. So we make the sourdough pancakes, dollop of that vanilla mascarpone cheese with the best butter you can get, Bordeaux butter, and let that all just homogenize together and pour, and I mean pour. My pancakes are saturated. They're not a little bit of syrup over here. Saturate them so it just oozes out with the bourbon syrup, and a big 2 or 3 slices of Allward's thick sliced bacon, and a cup of black Kona coffee. That's
Wow.
it. Kind of all together.
Both answers also felt just so perfect for your journeys and also what you're putting out in the world. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate it.
I always get so hungry at this point. Sarah, Steve, this was so lovely. Can you let folks know where to find BLiS, which I know I said BLiS earlier.
Everybody does.
But BLiS, everyone, BLiS. So
That life
let's
is
call,
short.
yes, because life is short, which is so beautiful. So let's hear social accounts, website, and any other partnerships and spots where to find you.
You can purchase products at our webpage, www.blisgourmet.com. That's BLiS Gourmet. Our Instagram and Facebook is at BLiS Gourmet.
Love it.
And you probably taste our products at restaurants around the country.
And you just don't even know it if they don't list it on the menu.
Multiple distributors. Most of more white tablecloth distributors are working with us.
Yeah. And if you are a chef or wholesaler, you can always call and see if we have a distributor in your area.
And the West Coast, it's Foods in Season and multiple others, but they're number one, and they have a lot of other ingredients to go with that. And we've got multiple distributors in different areas of the country.
Steve, Sarah, thank you again so much for joining me. And I have to say, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This was BLiS Gourmet's Perfect Bite.
Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media @PerfectBitePod. Now go get something good to eat.